Welcome to TTM Cast, your sports collectibles podcast.
Sponsored by CGC Cards, card grading all in one place. CGC Cards is devoted to expert grading of collectible cards, including TCGs, sports cards, and non-sports cards.
And by sportscollectorsdaily.com. If it happens in the hobby, you'll find it on sportscollectorsdaily.com. And sponsored by GemRate.com. The latest grading statistic from the 4 major grading companies is just a click away. Visit GemRate.com. It's free.
And now, here's our host, Drew Pelto.
Well, hello everybody. Here we're coming to you once again here with TTM Cast, your sports collectibles podcast. Place for us to talk about TTM, cards, autographs, collecting, and just about anything else that comes to mind for us here, but mostly all those first few things there. This is season number 6, episode number 30 of this season. We're recording here on August 22nd, putting this on air on August 24th for your downloading pleasure. And of course, we are a nationally ranked sports collectibles podcast. My name is Drew Pelto. I am host of the show here, joined by Troy Rutter once again here in the co-host seat. Good to have you on here once again. It's 3 weeks in a row we've got you on here, so definitely good to have you here once again.
Yeah, thanks for accommodating me once again. I've been, this last week, last week I told you guys I was kind of in the ER for a little bit, and so it's nice to be healthy again.
No ER trips, no COVID. It's back to normal, hopefully, here from here on, for sure.
I certainly hope so. Hope so.
Well, just around the sports world right now, we've got the final week of the NFL preseason going on right now. I've actually got the Bengals and Colts game on Thursday Night Football here in the background as we record. There's a nice punt right there by Indianapolis. Just got down inside the 10. But have you checked out any of the preseason at all? It's usually I try to watch the Browns every single week, and this year I'm like, oh yeah, I guess they are playing, and haven't checked any of the games out yet until just now.
No, I was actually going to because I think I might have mentioned that Verizon, when I upgraded my line, I got the full package, but that is for the regular season only. So I'm kind of still in the dark there. So I could watch all the highlights and the quick recaps on the old Apple or not Apple TV, YouTube subscription there, but not the actual game. So I haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah. All over on the baseball side of things, we're definitely getting into the heat of the pennant run, and I think it's safe to say you can kind of narrow it down now to 9 American League teams and 8 National League teams that are alive right now. That's all that has above 500 records right now. And I mean, it's going to take a heck of a run for anybody below that, I think, to really have a chance at a playoff spot. But any predictions as to anything you think we're going to see here down the stretch at all?
I think it's pretty wide open right now between those. I don't want to be wrong. I think for anybody, like you said, that's above that 500, I think it's pretty much anybody. You know, this is going to be an interesting end of the season where don't count anybody out that's in the running.
It feels really weird Cleveland is in first place right now in their division. And it just feels weird to say that's one of the stronger divisions this year. I think there's 3 teams that are still in the hunt right now. Cleveland, Minnesota, and Kansas City all alive right now and very much alive in that race there. But it's so weird because, previous years it's like either Cleveland or Minnesota would run away with it. You have, 4 other teams that are below 500. So to have it competitive at the top there in the AL Central lease has been really kind of strange for me and kind of scary right now too. Because I'm like, I've been waiting for the swoon in June, die in July to happen, and it didn't. And I'm like, they're going to pick the worst time to have this happen now. And like late September, they're going to, somehow play themselves out of a playoff spot. And dropping 2 of 3 to the Yankees here this week definitely does not help that.
Right. Yeah.
Rangers, meanwhile, close to me here, are one of those below 500 teams, and the front office realizes it. They just sent out an email this week saying, hey, 25% off on any ticket the rest of the season here. I'm like, this is hilarious. But, yeah.
Little blue light special going on there.
Exactly, yeah. I am very open about my dislike of a lot of Rangers fans, and it's like, the last year is finally hitting right now. So I'm enjoying that just a little bit right now.
Is that normal for clubs to do that to that extreme at the end of the season when it's kind of looking bad?
I think it kind of depends, really. If you've been in the crapper the entire season and nobody had any expectations, they probably won't do it. But I mean, being the defending World Series champs, I think there's some pretty high expectations from the fans, from the front office, from everybody, and now it's like, well, you're back to being typical Rangers and crapping out again now, and they're kind of just desperate to get butts in the seats here for the rest of the final 6 weeks or so of the season. So, but like I said, I'm perfectly happy with that. So
I won't be going down. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I probably still won't even go to one, even though it's right up the road from me. But so on the plus side, though, I will be hitting up some minor league games here this week. Finally, getting out there and doing some graphing here. After I said the other day, it's like, I'm skipped out on last week's game. So this week, though, Saturday, hopefully going down to Cleburne for a game. Sunday, we're going to go out to Frisco for a game, as we've got the San Antonio Missions coming to town. I was hoping to go for them back in May, and we got rained out. So I still have a nice stack of cards here waiting for the Missions, so hopefully I'll get some of those signed. And I think I've got like 3 more cards getting delivered tomorrow for that. So hopefully those will roll in. Hopefully I'll get a bunch of those signed. And yeah, as of right now, so I was mentioning as well, I said last week I've got some card sets I want to try to buy before spring training. And as I was mentioning to you, Troy, right before we got in the air here, I have booked my Airbnb. So I've at least got that ready to go here. And it does have free cancellation, unfortunately. So if I, for some reason, can't make it out there, I get my money back on it. But I at least got my down payment on it and just waiting for acceptance there. But yeah, I found Airbnb for 2 weeks. It's totally private space. I have just a room in somebody's house. It's like a small little house they have out back there. And I'm like, that sounds pretty good right there. My own space, fast Wi-Fi, so I can still work from there. And yeah, just looking forward to that. So hopefully that's going to all go well. But I have at least that much done so far. So it's inching my way along here on this. So pretty happy with that. But Troy, how's your week gone? What have you had going on? What you got coming up? Anything like that?
Well, like I said, I'm finally over most of my health issues, I hope. Actually going camping this weekend, so I'm sure something else will catch me. Probably Lyme disease or something like that. No, I definitely hope not. But I did, just yesterday, I got 2 more additions to the set ordered, the 1991 Don Russ set on the old eBay. Actually found an Ozzie Smith slabbed for $59.
Nice.
So that was pretty good. And then of all things, I actually found 2 Mark Langston 1991 Don Russ, both unauthenticated, for only $3. And it's been on my list that I've needed forever. So I'm like, what the heck is going on where it's only $3? So I did pick one that was kind of an off color. I think it was red or orange Sharpie, but it had the little line over his last name that seemed pretty consistent, and one of them did not have that line. So picked that up for for $3. I don't know why I was missing that one if it's only $3. That was incredibly bizarre. So with those, well, once they come in, I'll give you an update on where I am with that set. But for my 2023 Send All the Tops cards project, I got 3 more that I'll talk about later. So there I have a total of 9 with 13 return to senders and 10 donation letters received so far. And I kind of tried to figure out the average cost of sending all these, including the Blue Jays, which were obviously up to Canada. And it looks like it came out at about $900 in postage total.
Wow. We actually had somebody asking in or writing in with a question. We had a question from Riato, who has been a writer into the show here before, wanting to know what specific players sent back donation requests and preprints and return to senders. So we won't ask you to go into every single one of those this week, but maybe for next week's show, we'll just think about that, have a list together, and just answer some questions there. They also were asking about the ink results on those glossy surfaces there of 23 tops, because they said also some of the 24 top Series 2 cards, especially from the hangers and blasters and fat packs, had several cards in each pack that were missing some of the gloss, so that made it actually a little bit easier because you have to do as much prep work on those. They said, yeah, I set those aside for TTM purposes. So yeah, just something to think about there for next week. Just think about getting a list together of specific players on all those things. But I see you've got one right there. It looks like the ink is sticking pretty well in that 2023. Right?
I am known for not prepping hardly anything, and if anything, I did the little thumb thing on this, and it is all of them are pretty solid there.
Nice. That is looking good. Sure. So there you go. There's at least an answer part of the question there from Riato on the email there. So we'll hopefully have more for you for next week's show on that as well. But let's take a look for this week. We've got some grapher DIY we're going to talk about here. So I wrote, I'll mention my article a little bit later on here when we get into Baker's Dozen, but my article this week dealt with in-person autograph etiquette. And so we'll talk about a little bit some bit more autograph, some more in-person etiquette, but also some TTM etiquette as well, because, I mean, there are certain do's and don'ts to this hobby for sure. So we'll try to cover a little bit of that. And, we might bring up some things that people just never really thought about before when they get ready to mail cards out. So stick around for that later on in the show. We also, as I said, have Baker's Dozen coming up right before that. We'll follow up Grapher DIY with Making the Grade, covering all things from the world of grading here in our hobby. Got the TTM cast stamp approval, giving our thumbs up to something from the previous week. You never know what it's going to be out of us on that. The Vert Rap Minute covers deaths in the world of sports, celebrity, music, movies, politics. Anybody you might consider TTMing, we will try to let you know if they have passed away in the previous week. And of course, why are we all here? It's our TTM returns. We'll be talking about those to sum up the show there at the very end. I mentioned before we get some emails in with questions, comments, anything like that. Troy, what is the way for people to send those on into us?
The best address to email both of us or even Ruthie would be ttmcast@yahoo.com.
If you want to find me directly, it's dfwgrapher@gmail.com. You can also follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at dfwgrapher as well. Troy, where can the people find you out in the social media world?
Well, pretty much everywhere. I am just at TTM Autograph. That is on YouTube and Instagram, and except on the Twitters where it is just my nickname, TRUTTER.
There you go. Give us a search and give us a follow there once you find us on those. I think we pretty much got it started up pretty well here, so let's go ahead and jump right on into things here with Baker's Dozen.
Baker's Dozen, sponsored by SportsCollectorsDaily.com.
Smart collectors turn to Sports Collectors Daily to stay up to date. From new releases to incredible collections hitting the auction block, news from inside the business of sports collectibles, and much more, Sports Collectors Daily has it, all with no subscription cost. SC Daily also delivers a live look at the most watched sports card auctions on eBay for every sport. Sign up to get the headlines in your email for free, or just visit the website whenever you like. With 16,000 stories in the archive going back 16 years, there is always plenty to read at SportsCollectorsDaily.com.
Baker's Dozen is a news summary of all things in the collectibles world. We talk about upcoming card releases, some upcoming shows, all kinds of stuff that's going on there. We'll try to keep you on top of all of the news there. I want to remind you, as I said earlier, I write a weekly article at Sports Collectors Daily. This week's one, as I said, talks about in-person graphing etiquette, because I have seen some pretty crappy stuff going on lately, especially in some Facebook groups, and I just wanted to give people some reminders a little bit of, best ways to kind of conduct yourself in this hobby, because, if there's a lot of good people in this hobby, there's also a lot of people that can be real jerks. So try not to be among that latter group there. Try to stay in the former, and check out my article, and hopefully gives you some insight as to some do's and don'ts around the hobby there a bit, and hopefully most of our listeners follow the things to do there at least. I also want to remind you, we've got the TTM Cast store up and running at ttmcast.com. We've got shirts for sale. We've got both T-shirts and sweatshirts. Got a hat up there. We've got a water bottle that I'm still absolutely loving the fact that I picked that one up out of there. So go and check that out as well. Get yourself some TTM Cast apparel and accessories and such for your life. ttmcast.com is the place for that. And, of course, I want to remind you to get your items in for appraisals, as next month we'll talk to Les Wolf and get his opinions on some values and authenticities and all that kind of stuff from our listeners' collections. Send us any pictures of your collection and some short descriptions to the email address, which is
cast@yahoo.com.
There you go. Get it on into us, and we will talk about all of that for next week's appearance from Les Wolf. Moving into some news from the hobby right now, we've got Heritage Auctions and the Atlanta Braves are going to court. The bases and home plate from Hank Aaron's 715th career home run were pulled from Heritage's upcoming Summer Platinum Night sports auction, with the Braves questioning the ownership of the items. Heritage says the items were consigned by the son of a former Braves employee who got them with permission from the team's owner back in 1974. The items have been removed from bidding over a title dispute, according to Heritage, and we'll keep you updated as to whatever may come of that, and if those items will go back up for auction at some point in the near future.
And if you did not make it to the Nationals, don't worry about it, because some things might actually be better if you do not. Chicago native Sam Dodoro was sitting at home. He's a collector and did not go to the Nationals this year. Instead, he went to have his car serviced. And while there, he was scrolling around on Facebook and found a Facebook Marketplace ad for some strip cards. Now, these are known as the WUNC shoulderless cards, and it's a kind of a combination of actors and baseball cards, and included in that were 2 Babe Ruth cards. Now, they obviously are fairly old and rare, and one is actually really badly centered and cut and has some creases on it, but when asked about them, the original owners think that one of their relatives actually had a little general store back in the early 1900s that they owned for many, many years, and we're pretty sure that they came from one of their relatives that worked at the store and just kind of pocketed them away after getting them in the store. So that is a pretty good find, and pretty amazing that this guy was actually able to successfully acquire them. And if you're wondering how much they're worth, it's kind of unknown. SGC has graded only 3 ever of the Babe Ruth cards, those shoulderless cards, and PSA has not graded them at all, ever. So the person, Sam Dodoro, he says he's not interested in selling. They're just going into his PC. So hats off to Sam for mindlessly scrolling on Facebook Marketplace while his car is being worked on. I guess there is value to be found in there if you're quick enough, I guess. Huh?
Absolutely. I mean, hey, creased and off-centered, a Ruth is still a Ruth. I mean, that is definitely worth a pickup.
That is a good story.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you're looking for newer stuff, we've got some new releases here upcoming ahead this week. Across all sports, pretty much. I think we've got a little bit of everything here, with hockey starting things off. Got the 2024-25 Upper Deck MVP hockey set is going to be making its way into stores on the 28th of August. In there, you're going to see 8 cards per pack with 20 packs per box. Each box should have about 30 inserts, short prints, and parallels. Pre-sale price on that is going to run you $58.
And also coming out on August 28th, we have 23-24 Topps Chrome Basketball, something people look forward to every year. With that, you get 8 cards per pack and 12 packs per box. And with that box, you're guaranteed 2 autographs, 12 inserts, and 24 parallels in that box. And the pre-sale price there at your favorite card shop would be $540.
Got a Panini Select Football coming out 2 days after those ones. Will be on August the 30th. 5 cards per pack in there with 12 packs per box. Loaded with some parallels. I mean, you can see 2 autographs and a memorabilia card, but also 15 prisms and 6 inserts as well. Pre-sale price up there a little bit. That's going to be $1,100 per box.
And we also have 2023 Leaf Perfect Game National Showcase, and that is also coming out near the end of the month on October 30th. And there you have 20 autographs per box, and every card is numbered to 50 or less. So pretty good there. The pre-sale price there, $110.
You're more looking for a factory set, as I am about to be, as I mentioned earlier on in the show. They're the 2024 Topps Baseball factory sets are going to be hitting the stores on August 30th as well. You can get in there, you're going to see this complete 700-card set, and they're doing both a hobby and a retail version of those. Hobby sets will have 5 numbered foil board cards added in as well in their own pack. Retail sets will have a pack of 5 rookie card photo variations. So, depending on which one you want there, go and check out either your local hobby shop or Target, Walmart, any of your retailers that carry any cards. But pre-sale price on those is $50 for the hobby sets and $60 for the retail ones.
And also from Topps, we have the 2023 Topps Composite Football. Those are also coming out on August 30th. And there you have 8 cards per pack and 12 packs per box. You get 3 autographs and 5 numbered parallels with that, as well as 12 inserts per box. And the pre-sale price there, $400.
Lastly, one that's not exactly a card product, but definitely an autograph product here. And I've seen these listed before, but none of them really seemed that interesting to me. It's usually stuff like you get 1 jersey per box or 1 baseball per box. But this 2024 Gold Rush Shoebox Collection Hockey is coming out. And if I had the $1,000 for this, I would probably take a chance on it. It's coming out on August 28th. You get 10 items per box. All 10 of those items are autographed, and it could be anything. I mean, you've got whether it be jerseys, pucks, hats, cards, photos, anything like that, but a mix of autographed memorabilia and cards in there, 10 items for $1,000. So outside my price range, but very intriguing if I had that $1,000 sitting there. So something worth checking out for the memorabilia collectors there.
Wow.
Meanwhile, if you're hoping to pick up one of these shows, go ahead and check one of these sets, one of these boxes, one of these products. There we go. I'll cover it all in there. But if you want to pick up one of those, check out a local card show if you've got one around you. We've got a few that we want to highlight here. Starting out with one out of New Jersey, the South River Card and Collectibles Show. This was taking place on September the 7th at the Imperial Music Center in South River, New Jersey. Admission to that show is $5, runs from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. 2 autograph signers going to be $29 each or both for $50, and that's going to be Wally Backman and Lenny Dykstra. So any fans of the 1980s New York Mets or the early 90s Phillies, they were both there with them for a bit. Go and check that one out. Like I said, $29 or both for $50. Clevelanders will get this one 29 or 2 for $50. So there you go. Little Mr. Allen reference there. But it's TripleCrownPromotion.com is the place to go and check out more about the South River Card and Collectibles Show.
I don't know if I ever mentioned this, but I used to go to the Lenny Dykstra Car Wash in Simi Valley, California. That was my car wash. When he
nice.
Had a nice little pizza place attached. Anyway, coming up September 7th, we have the Marlboro Show. That is at the Solomon Pond Mall up there in Marlboro, Massachusetts. The admission there is free, and they have 65 tables reserved for everybody up there to display their wares. A few of the signers there are Terry O'Reilly, Paul Stewart, and Tabucky Jones. So check that out at cardboardpromotions.com.
One of the things they had shown on their site there is a photo of O'Reilly fighting Stewart. So that's a nice little potential dual piece there for anybody who can track that photo down. Meanwhile, elsewhere in Massachusetts, the next day, September 8th, at the Methuen VFW Hall, it's the Methuen Show. Admission out there is going to be $2. They've got 40 tables set up out there. Jim Lonborg will be the autograph signer there. $15 an item for him. I saw a nice selection of photos they had for sale there as well. So Lonborg's an excellent TTMer, but it might be nice to get a photo at something like that. So go and check out what they've got there at cardshows.net.
And wrapping up our list for this week, we have the Front Row Card Show, kind of rhymes there, September 7th through the 8th. At the Pasadena Convention Center, a place I've been to many times. So that admission there is $10, and they have a whopping 300 tables, and SGC will be there for on-site grading. So if you have some cards, have some cash, and want to get some on-site grading, that'd be a great opportunity to do it. You can find out more about that at frontrowcardshow.com.
If you want more info about any of those shows and those signings, go and check out, I believe it's sportscollectorsdigest.com has an excellent list of shows. And, of course, cravetheauto.com has info about upcoming signings as well, whether it be show signings or individual, just random event signings that happen to be taking place as well. Right now, it's time for some Grapher DIY.
Ready for some tips and tricks? It's time for Grapher DIY.
Grapher DIY is just kind of a chance for us to, give some ideas to help your collection out, and just anything comes to mind, really. I mean, we've talked about, how to prep your cards to make sure they sign effectively. We've had stuff about how to store your cards well, how to organize your books and stuff for if you want to make a book for going out and doing some in-person graphing. But as I mentioned earlier on in the show when I was talking about my article on Sports Collectors Daily, it's that some of the attitudes and behavior that I've been seeing in some of the Facebook groups dedicated to autographs lately has just completely sucked, to be honest. I mean, we've had people asking perfectly legitimate questions like about, hey, how to go about graphing this particular ballpark. How is it good for it? Is it bad for it? What are some good places to go? What are some of these players' signing habits? And so many of these people just kind of roll their eyes and answer, well, why don't you just show up and do it yourself and figure it out that way? And to me, that kind of sucks because, I mean, every ballpark has its little differences and nuances, and it's good to, be prepared and know going into there which ones are good, which ones are bad. And for me personally, I mean, I'd try to, construct road trips around this stuff. So it's like, if I know the ballpark is going to completely suck for it, I'm going to try to avoid it for sure. I'm looking at you, Louisville, right now. So that's, try to avoid anything like that. And so I don't know, just some of the attitudes I've seen with people, giving this, well, why don't you just show up and figure it out? It's like, shut up, please. Just, if you know, then tell people, But so I kind of wrote an article this past week for Sports Collectors Daily about just, grapher etiquette in person. And frankly, I'd say there's also kind of some etiquette, too, to TTMing as well. I mean, one of the biggest things that comes to mind right off the bat for me is the number of cards that people send out. And I know, Troy, you've always said, you tend to limit yourself like 2 or 3 typically to most players out there. And I'll go up to 4 occasionally on some guys. But, yeah, I mean, that's one of the biggest things. People just don't seem to understand. You kind of got to limit yourself a little bit on that stuff.
Yeah, especially when I see people trying to stuff 7 in a envelope with 1 stamp. You're like, okay, you're not only kind of pushing it with the post office, you're pushing it with the player as well, especially if 4 of them are dupes, I understand if you have 7 Ron Gants that you want to send, but just break them up a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, I try to do 2 to 3. I have been known to push it to 4. I think the only one I've ever done 5, and thank goodness it came back, was Eric Lindros. Yeah. And I was so glad when those came back because they were really great successes, and I might have even sent them a thank you on that. But yeah, I do 2 to 3, and I think I've mentioned this before that I try to wait like even 2 years before I send another one. Some people do 6 months. And, it's just whatever you're comfortable with and what you see people get. But 3 is kind of my personal max for that. And that's just being respectful. And I try not to send 3 of the same one because to me that's like, oh, well, why are you doing this again?
And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of players that won't sign duplicates at all. So yeah, I mean, if you're sending 4 cards of the exact same one, you might get 1 back signed, and that's about it. So, yeah, vary it up a bit. Like I said, I'll push to 4. So, and if I'm sending overseas, I might go ahead and do more because I think, number 1, those guys don't get as much mail from the U.S. Number 2, it costs a lot sometimes to send over to Europe and back. And so it's like, just kind of, get the most bang for my buck basically out of that. But still, even then, I'm going to be tapping out 6 overseas. And even that, I'm like, that might be a bit much. I'll still keep it to 4 typically on those. Like, one that I'll talk about a little bit later on here in the show, I've got 4 back from, and I'm like, all right, that's definitely enough on that one there. But yeah, and just going along with what you said there about, not mailing super often is another great one for people to really consider there, because I'm with you on, you say 2 years, I try to limit it to 1, and once in a great while, 6 months or so, but it's very rare that I'll, cut it to anything shorter than that. But I think back to when, who was it? I think Rick Ruschel, former, Giants, Cubs, Indians, I think, and a couple other teams pitcher, the Pirates as well. And he was an excellent signer for a long time. I mean, all the way up until about 2017 or so, and then suddenly out of nowhere, he just stopped. And I remember seeing before that, not long before, you'd have people sending 6 cards to him every single month. Like the same people over and over again, sending 6 cards per, 6 cards per, 6 cards per, and always getting them back. Players recognize people's names, and they get tired of it pretty quick. So I'm definitely with you on that. Is space your requests out, and especially if you're not going to space it out, don't send 6 every single freaking time either.
Yeah, and a good rule of thumb is also if you do send 4 and do one of those, keep 1 if you'd like. They will always keep the one that you wish they wouldn't have. Yes. So just send the 3 that you want rather than say keep 1 or 2.
That's why if I have a set card I'm sending, I'm probably going to send only the set card unless I know for certain that he's going to sign 2. Then it's like, all right, set card, and then okay, I like this one too, we'll put it in. But yeah, I mean, you're running some risks there the more you send, and especially if you got one specific one. That is for sure. Other basic stuff, always use your pleases and thank yous. This goes in person, this goes in writing, in everything. And I mean, whether you type or whether you write, I've seen similar successes either way, whether it's typed or written. It's all about the content more than anything. I mean, I've started going over with I know, Troy, you're a typer, and I've started to go over the way of the typing as well. And it's, from what I've heard from everybody, is it comes down to the content of it. Make sure that you can write it out all you want, but if you're putting this, short one says, you're one of my favorite players, please sign these cards, done, you're probably not going to have any more success than if you were to type the exact same thing. Whereas if you say, hey, you're one of my favorite players, I remember seeing you play for this team and such, or I always like dropping in because my dad's former neighbor is George Brunette, so anytime a player has played either with or against him, I'll mention, oh yeah, you had 5 hits in your career off George Brunette, who used to live next door to my dad, or something like that. And that's not going to matter then whether you handwrite it or whether you type it. Just keep it personal, keep it interesting. Make sure they know that you're not just out for a free autograph. You actually care about the player, the team, the sport, whatever it may be. For sure.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned this, and I don't try to hide it, that I not only type, but I've used the same form letter for 4 or 5 years and just kind of changed things up a little bit. But I always write a handwritten thank you at the bottom, no matter what. I can't remember who it was, but there was at least one baseball player that was his thing. If you didn't say please at the end of your letter, they weren't going to sign. So just, even if you type, just write something more than your name at the bottom, and just say thank you for your time or whatever. It doesn't hurt. Takes a couple seconds, and yeah, it might make a difference. You never know.
Absolutely. I'm trying to think what other things go into there, really. So when it comes to in-person etiquette, to me, there's so much more that goes into it. Because, I mean, not only are you dealing with the player in person, you're also dealing with other collectors around you, other random people around you and everything. Whereas with TTM, it's just you and the player. You don't have as much there to kind of worry about. So as long as, you keep your basic etiquette between you and the player, they're good, then you're probably good to go. There's a lot more to it in person and everything. And like I said, I cover most of that in my article there on Sports Collectors Daily. But Troy, any thoughts that you have on any in-person etiquette and such, and just that goes along with any of that?
I haven't done in-person in quite a while. Just one more, like entertainment TTMs. It used to be like when I was starting out that you could send just a letter in an envelope and just say, "Can you send me an 8x10?" and that would be enough. But today, photos are readily available, either printing or eBay or whatever. So even if you're doing entertainment stuff, make sure you send something rather than counting on someone to make something or to use something from their agent or whatever. Because even celebrities they don't really, I don't think they even have 500 to 1,000 8x10s on hand anymore with all the digital stuff. But no, I haven't done IP in a while, and I've only, truth be told, I've only ever done IP at Major League games because I get there so unoften, like once or twice just to try it. So I'm not the expert on each ballpark by any means.
Right. I mean, I've been to 40 ballparks. Even I'm still asking people, "Oh, hey, what's the best spot in here? What to avoid here?" So, I mean, my friend Aaron, who I've mentioned, because I did an article on road trip planning, and mentioned he's done 80 ballparks now in his lifetime, and even he contacts people ahead of time saying, "Hey, yeah, what do you know about this? Is this going to be a good one? Is this going to be a bad one?" and such like that. 'Cause, I mean, it just varies so much, and I mean, you can visit every single ballpark that you want, and you can visit every single one in your lifetime, and sometimes it can even change from year to year, especially with the advent of netting and such.
And I had some friends, I think it was 2 years ago, that, they are not IPers or autograph seekers at all. And they went to a Minnesota versus Astros game up there, and they just kind of hung out at the front, and out comes toothpick twirling Dusty Baker and took pictures and signed stuff, and they were the happiest they could ever get. They didn't take much planning on their side.
Yeah. So there you go. Just some ideas for everybody out there to help keep the hobby friendly. Basically, keep your interactions as good as you can possibly get them, and hopefully that kind of turns things around there a little bit from some of the personalities and attitudes I've seen there lately. And ultimately, the last thing I want to say is if somebody asks you about something, just answer them. What harm does it do saying, yeah, this guy is a good signer, or no, this guy is probably going to be only a one per signer? What's it going to hurt to say, yeah, over that spot there next to the tarp is a good spot to stand? It doesn't really hurt much of anything. You're not going out and, you're not recruiting anybody. Word's going to get out anyway at some point eventually on this stuff for anybody who really wants it. If somebody has a question, just answer it. Don't, spoon feed them every single bit of info, but if they're asking a decent question, just answer it. Those are my thoughts on everything. A little grapher DIY, and hopefully I'll help things out here a little bit in keeping the hobby accessible. With that being said, let's move on to Making the Grade.
Making the Grade is sponsored by CGC Cards. All card grading, all in one place. Certified Guarantee Company, CGC, devoted to the expert grading of collectible cards. Visit cgccards.com today.
Making the Grade is a summary of all things related to grading here in the hobby, and take a look at some of the numbers from the big four grading companies, courtesy of gemrate.com. Troy, what do we have here from this previous week?
Yeah, we have a little bit of a mix this week. And again, this is August 12th through the 18th. PSA, about 257.2K cards. That was down 22%. CGC, 46.8K, which was up 53%. So that was quite a bit of a jump there over the previous week. SGC, 36.6K, which was down 7%. And Beckett saw a little bit of a rise there at 14.7K, which was up 10% versus the previous week. So in total, about 355.3K cards through the top four graders and authenticators there.
Always good to see a CGC up there. I know they had a couple of down weeks there, and seeing that 53% there, I'm like, all right, I like seeing that. They're a big sponsor of the show here, of course. So anytime they're doing work is always really good to see out of them. Well, another thing we get from gemrate.com is exclusive to TTM Cast. It's the Big Three.
This week's Big Three is brought to you by gemrate.com. Whose cards are hot and whose cards are cold this week? Let's find out from our friends at gemrate.com.
The Big Three tells who the risers are in individual players over the previous week and who the Big Three are that are falling off a bit in terms of their grading numbers, just to kind of give you an idea of how things are trending in terms of individual players now in the grading world. Got a little bit of everything here on the risers list here. So we started with some soccer. Lamine Yamal, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but soccer player, I believe, for FC Barcelona and for Spain's national team, if I remember right. But he is up 61% here this week in his grading numbers. Coming into the second spot on the Big Three is Emmitt Smith, of course, former Cowboys running back. He is up 28% on his grading. And number three, as the Phillies make a continued run toward the AL East title, it looks almost inevitable at this point, Bryce Harper comes to the number three spot at an 11% increase. In terms of individual cards, Yamal's 2024 Tops Now UEFA Euro number 5 from that set. That is more than tripled in grading over the previous week. And it was the 9th most graded card overall during the week. And the only cards that were ahead of him on the list were ones of Victor Wembanyama, CJ Stroud, and Caitlin Clark. So nice company right there to be following up there on in terms of Lamine Yamal's Tops Now card. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, Troy, who do we have dropping their way down the list?
Yeah, dropping a little bit this week, we have Jason Tatum, who is down 34%, Tony Gwynn, down 36%, and Anthony Edwards, down 38%. So all in the 30s this week.
Well, once again, a big thanks to gemrate.com for providing these numbers. Let's see if we can get Ryan Stuzinski on the show here again for a reading of those here at some point in the next couple of weeks. Right now, though, let's move on to the TTM Cast Stamp of Approval.
I bet you're wondering who earned this week's TTM Cast Stamp of Approval.
Well, the TTM Cast Stamp of Approval is just an opportunity for us to give a thumbs up to something from the previous week. Sometimes it's collectibles related, sometimes it's sports related, sometimes it's completely off the wall. It might be a TV show, it might be a movie, it might be something food, it might be something music. It's all over the map. You never know what it's going to be, but I'll go ahead and start off with mine here for the week first, and that is that on Sunday, Elvis Costello has his 70th birthday. And, I mean, any geek rocker out there, such as myself, obviously, anybody with glasses and a guitar basically owes a tremendous debt of gratitude to Elvis Costello. Because, I mean, he's one of the best songwriters, I would say, of the last 50 years. He's this, kind of started out at least as the punk rocker doesn't look like a punk rocker, basically, is just kind of the best way to describe him, I'd say there. But I've always liked his stuff, and he was, a big member, a big influence of the entire new wave genre and everything that came after that. And it was kind of fun. We actually got to reference his Saturday Night Live. I would say reference. I'd say completely rip off his Saturday Night Live playing of Radio when I was in one of my previous bands. But we had this sort of fan that we had out in Abilene, and I ended up in this super long discussion with him late one night. Basically, just because he did not like Elvis Costello for some reason. I'm like, you're insane. He's great, and we had to go back and forth for like 2 hours on the topic. And I'm like, all right, we're gonna get him next time we play in Abilene here. And so we scheduled a show out there, and I told the band what I really want to do is I want to start playing this song we had called Wolves, which was written by the previous guitarist before I joined the band. And we hadn't played it since he had left. I said, let's start playing Wolves. And I want to stop him and go, wait. No, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. There's no need for us to play that song here and play Radio. And so we went out and we did exactly that. As I'm like just staring down the guy the entire time, just like, yeah, this one's for you, buddy. This one is for you. And it was a lot of fun being able to do that and everything. And so a big happy 70th birthday on Sunday to Elvis Costello. And that was my TTM Cast stamp of approval. Troy, what do you got for yours?
Well, I actually have a collectibles stamp of approval this week. No food. Haven't been able to eat anything for about 2 weeks.
Jeez.
Maybe I'll come. We did have the Iowa State Fair. I probably should have gotten one of these new Iowa State Fair fried whatever, but I did not. Saving myself for that. But I actually, this week, I have something that, I'm sorry if I mentioned it before, but I have really been using these on, since I have been sick, and I've been working on sorting the collection, including the BCW card catalog. I have been using BCW tall trading card dividers to separate all the cards, even in top loaders, because the regular size kind of disappear into the ether in both tall shoe boxes and also these tall drawers. And what I've been doing is I've been kind of going through and I use return address labels, and I put a hard return on the first line and put the name on the second line. And then when I print them out, I put the bottom on the top of the tall divider and fold it over, and it's just, they're looking really nice, but you go through 10 dividers pretty darn quick. So I'm not able to do it for every player, but just kind of keeping track of, where the A's start and the B's start and stuff like that, because I do sort them by player. But the tall dividers are definitely, before I found those, I was really frustrated that I couldn't see anything in top loaders. I couldn't even see the dividers. And then I found, like, through the clouds, the BCW tall dividers. And I wish they were, what do I want to say? Like, I wish they were a little less expensive and in more than 10 packs. And so you could obviously buy as many packs as you want, but having them in 10 packs seems like a lot of cellophane packaging that could go to waste. And so if they had like a 50 pack that was just one pack, that would be awesome. But that's my seal of approval. BCW tall dividers. If you have, if you're working with top loader cards, those are the way to go to divide everything. And you want probably a super fine Sharpie rather than, a ballpoint pen on those if you don't use labels. But there you go.
Are those the ones that are kind of like a hard white plastic that stick up a little bit above the cards?
Yeah, the bottoms are square and the tops are a little rounded.
Okay, I bought those 2 years ago when I went on my road trip to sort everything by team. I just write the team right across the top there, and those, I will echo your sentiments on this. Those things are the best. I mean, I think I bought 2 packs of them. I reused them for my spring training trip. I'm going to be reusing them this year now too, and yes, they come highly recommended, I will say now, by both of us, because they were a lifesaver for me, for sure.
Yeah, you just want to make sure if you're not using top loaders, you can get the regular size dividers, but look for the talls if you use top loaders.
Absolutely. Excellent choice on that one. So there you go. That is the TTM Cast stamp of approval for this week. Let's move on now and take a look at the Vern Rapp Minutes. The Vern Rapp Minute is dedicated to the memory of Mr. Vern Rapp, former Major League ball player and manager. Our show's founder, Jeff Baker, mailed off to Vern, not knowing that he had already passed away, and so to help save other collectors of the embarrassment, learn from my fail, learn from our mistakes of the past there, we give you this to let you know who has passed away in the world of sports, celebrity, music, movies, politics, anybody you might consider TTMing. We'll try to let you know if they have passed away. So this week we lost Nick Milletti. Nick was the owner of the Cleveland Indians. He was the founder of the Cleveland Cavaliers and former owner of the Cleveland Crusaders in the WHA as well. After his time on the North Coast, he went out to Las Vegas, and he was the owner of the CFL's Las Vegas Posse when the Canadian Football League decided to expand into the U.S. very briefly there. After his ownership career, he was also an author as well. Nick was not a TTMer, but Nick Milletti was 93 years old.
And we also lost Al Attles. He was a guard from 1960 to 1971 for the Philadelphia/Golden State Warriors. He was also a coach with the 1975 champions there. And his number 16 was retired. Up until 2017, he was a pretty good TTMer, and he was also inducted into the NBA in 2019 as a contributor. So, again, Al Attles was 87 years old.
We also lost Doug Assad this week. Doug played very briefly with the Oakland Raiders from 1960 to 1961. 2 seasons there as a tight end. He had 3 career touchdown catches with them. Doug was a good TTMer through about 2022 or so. He was 85 years old.
And we also lost Herschel Turner. He played from 1967 to 68 in the ABA for Pittsburgh and Anaheim. He was also a Harlem Globetrotter, and after his career, he became a painter. That's kind of seems like a common thing to do for both presidents and celebrities. Herschel was not really a TTMer throughout his career or after. Herschel Turner was 86 years old.
Over in the music world, we lost Jack Russell a couple weeks ago, but it just came out in the news this previous week, I believe. He was the lead singer for Great White from 1980 through the early 2000s or so. While he was there with them, they had 7 songs that ended up in the Billboard Rock Top 10, including Rolling Stone, I believe was the last one they had that hit it, and the first one we got in the top was Once Bitten, Twice Shy. So across a couple decades there, because I think Once Bitten, Twice Shy was around early to mid-'80s or so, and Rolling Stone was 1999, so nice range of time there on the Billboard Rock Top 10 for him. Jack Russell, not a TTMer, he was 63 years old.
And rounding up our list this week, we have Phil Donahue. He was known as the king of daytime talk and was the host of the show with his namesake, Donahue, from 1967 to 1996. He was also known as the first talk show host to do the whole questions from the audience type of thing, that type of format. He was the winner of 8 Emmy Awards and was awarded the Medal of Freedom. And Phil was not really a TTMer throughout his life, but we were still sad to see him. That's like TV history right there with Mr. Donahue. So Phil Donahue was 88 years old.
Well, if you've lost anybody this week, our thoughts are certainly with you, and let's move on now to our TTM returns.
Was our mailbox full this week? Let's take a look at this week's TTM returns.
Well, this week is a little lighter of a week at the mailbox here for me, but some kind of interesting ones that came about in this. So only 3 successes that I had during this time, but the first one I got in was on Friday. So we recorded, of course, last week's show on Thursday and hit the mailbox Friday, and what was there but a response from Gary Scott, former third baseman for the Cubs in the early 90s. Later went on to be a expansion draft pick of the Florida Marlins in 1993. Didn't play up in the majors with them at all, though. But Gary Scott, got him back after I'd mailed to him 4 years ago. Sent to him in 2020 during COVID and thought, okay, maybe this one won't be coming back at all. And then suddenly, here we are 4 years later, 1,483 days. He signed all 4 cards that I sent. So very happy to get that back. It's always fun to get the super long waits back there. I mean, obviously, you don't want to have every single one take that long, but it's fun when at least a couple of them will show up after that amount of time. So happy to get Gary Scott back. We also got Joseph Stumple. I kind of teased this one earlier in the show there that I mailed that one off to Slovakia, where he is, I believe, involved in coaching in some capacity with a team. But it's sent to Stumple over there, former center and winger for the Bruins, the Kings, the Panthers, and maybe a couple other teams there. But at least those 3 off the top of my head that he played for. But he signed 4 cards for me in Slovakia in 70 days' time, so a 10-week response on that. And last but not least, got in today after a 2-week wait, Walt Terrell, former pitcher for the Tigers, Padres, Pirates, and Yankees. This one sent just over to Kentucky, so no super long mailing going on there at all, and came back to me in 2 weeks there. So Walt Terrell signing 404 for me there, and he's always been a reliable signer. So I was looking through, I'm like, wait a second, I haven't sent to Terrell in probably 10 years or so. Let's go ahead and knock one out now, and he was very quick as always, so very happy to add those in. Troy, looks like you've got a nice looking list right here as well for the week.
Yeah, I actually had 4 in this week, and I think they were all on Monday. So it was a giant mail day on Monday, at least. But the first one was Rodney Monroe, 113 days. And I have no idea where these cards came from, to be honest with you.
1992 Classic Draft, I believe.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you because I don't have the lights on and I can't read the logo. So there's the little green logo on the bottom. But I only had a handful of these, and so what do? Send them out. See if they come back. So Rodney Monroe, 113 days. And then I had 3 successes for the 2023 Topps project, and they were all from the Mariners. So I guess they're having a better week than Scott Service is over with the Mariners. But I got Luis Castillo in 36 days. There you go. I'll get that for you. Kind of a thin and blue Sharpie there. Again, it's not smearing or anything. I probably shouldn't do that, but
yeah, I don't want to mess it up too much there, but yeah.
And I was kind of looking up him. I had gotten him before over the years, and it was kind of fun to see that it looked like in June he got his first at bat since 2021. Wow, because he's a pitcher. So
yeah,
there you go. Victor Robles, again, 41 days from the Mariners. So thin black Sharpie there, and this is a Nationals card from 2023. So only Luis was an actual Mariners card, and the last one was Austin Voth on this Orioles card, and that was in 24 days. So with those 3 returns, I'm pretty sure that the Mariners are at the top of the list for teams actually returning current player returns so far in this project.
Good to know, and hopefully that doesn't change now that Service is out, because, I mean, he's always been a fairly reliable TTMer. It's like, I remember when, when Pat Neshek joined the A's, suddenly everybody on the A's started signing. Then he went to the Phillies, and they had a charity autograph thing that he helped to organize there, so everybody there was signing, and now it's like, well, crap, if Service is leaving, hopefully it all just stops signing there, but Dan Wilson taking over as manager there, and he was a very good TTMer for a while. So hopefully, maybe it'll keep on going. We'll have to keep an eye out and see if that happens there.
Yeah, it is still early. Like I said, I've only had 9 actual successes, but 3 of them being the Mariners. So that's something. 33%, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. Glad to see Austin Waldstein there too, because I think I still need him on. At the very least, I might have a dual card of him, and I think it's Rowdy Reed, and I got Reed on it earlier, so I might have to mail that off, and I might have him on one. He might be in the 21 Heritage set. I'll take a look there, but I might have to try that now that I've seen that he was successful for you there. So,
yeah, I was a little scared when I got all 3 in on the same day because I was like, oh, what if someone in the office is just signing for everybody? But
yep.
They do look pretty good. They're all 3 different pens. They compared to their successes pretty well, so pretty happy with them.
That Castillo match is exactly what I got from him in spring training, so you're good on that one at the very least. So
there you go.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I'm gonna start writing a few more out here. I got some stamps and a small stack ready to go here. I just need to put the I was gonna say put the pen to the paper, but now it's put the fingers to the keyboard as I've been doing here lately. But gotta get those out here soon, and hopefully we'll have a few more coming in. This the one that I got back from Terrell was my first one I got back from the most recent batch that I mailed out. So hopefully some of those will start rolling in here over the next couple weeks as well, and hopefully have some more to talk about here in the next few weeks there out of that.
Perfect.
Well, that about does it for this week's show. Thanks again to Troy for sitting in the co-host seat here once again. And as far as I know, we're going to have him back in the seat here for a while here. I don't know how many weekends he's going to be out there, but I know you said it definitely is going to be here on more of them here over the next few weeks at the very least.
Yeah, I think I'm down to missing probably one a month now for a little bit, unless we can do early. But glad to be here. It's always fun and a highlight of my week.
Absolutely. Good to have you on here. And, of course, a big thanks to Ruthie for putting everything together back at her place and making sure this gets up online and out to everyone listening there out at home or in the car or on an airplane or wherever it may be that you're listening to this. If it's at work, wherever you get it, she's the one responsible for getting it to your ear holes at the very least. Next week's show, I'm not really sure what we're going to talk about yet. This is one of those weird months where we have 5 Saturdays in here. And, usually I try to keep it to where we have Clemente joining us the first week. We get a Collector's Corner the second week. We get Les on for the third week. The fourth week is Grapher DIY. What do I do for this 5th week? I don't know quite what we're going to talk about yet, but if anybody out there has something they want to hear about, let us know. And if I might find somebody for Collector's Corner, I might do some extra Grapher DIY. I don't know just yet. I mean, we're coming up on the end of the baseball season, the end of most of my in-person graphing. I think it's a little too early to do a kind of a year-long baseball season retrospective yet, but I don't know. Maybe something with that. I just don't know yet. If anybody has any ideas, shoot them our way. Troy, what's the email address where they can send us any of those ideas?
It would be ttmcast@yahoo.com.
There you go. So let me know. If you got any ideas, maybe we'll pick something from there and throw it on in there. If not, it's gonna be a grab bag next week. You don't know what we're gonna get yet, and we're just gonna surprise you with it. So that being said, if you have anything to send in for Les Wolf to take a look at in his September appearance, send it on over to us as well. We'll any scans that you have of it, descriptions, all that kind of stuff. Make sure we get all that. We'll have Les take a look at it, and we'll have that for you in September. Troy, any thoughts before we sign off here for this week?
I'm sorry, but the only thing going through my head is the TTM cast is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Yes, exactly. And when it comes to the fifth week of the month, that is really true. So we'll see what we have for you next week. And in the meantime, many happy returns, and we'll see you next week.
Everyone, be good.